Greetings! Today on my Focus RS I am installing the rear sway bar from Whiteline. Here it is then, the very awesome looking rear anti-roll bar from Whiteline for the Focus RS, and of course as well we have the matching link kit, which as you can see looks super duper sweet. They're the exact same design as the toe arms that we installed a while ago. So yes, replacing the anti-roll bar that we of course already have in the RS, we get a little bit more chunk. This is 22 millimeters. We have two levels of adjustability as you can see here, depending on where we put our link. So we can choose either more or less depending on what we want, and of course we can change that going forward if we want to dial in a bit more or less at any time. As you can see as well, it is powder coated in this really nice sort of sparkly silver color, which is very cool looking and is a very hard wearing finish as well. Other things, these ends are also forged, so it's going to be super duper strong. The anti-roll bar or sway bar needs to be strong because the way that it works is through a twisting force. So the stronger the better to resist deforming and performing at its absolute best. And the matching links are chunkier, stronger, and of course look better than the stock links, whilst also being adjustable. You can see you can twist this middle bit and you can make them a little longer or a little shorter and really just dial in your setup. So this adjustability giving just the maximum control over the setup that you could possibly have in combination with the adjustable anti-roll bar. Whiteline also say that there are improvements not just in handling but also to safety and tire wear without affecting ride quality or comfort. So really all in all it just sounds like a really awesome upgrade. Replacement hardware that Whiteline provide us with, brand new chunky brackets with nice new low compliance bushings. So obviously we have two of those, and then they also provide us with a pair of what they refer to as lateral locks. So these mount onto the anti-roll bar itself and they prevent like shifting or sideways movement of the anti-roll bar under like heavy cornering. So Whiteline say that these improve the effectiveness of the anti-roll bar and prevent fouling of the anti-roll bar on nearby chassis and steering components. So that's a nice little touch. These are made from aluminium in this sort of really cool gold color, which is sweet, and they also provide, if you need it, a little Allen key for tightening those up. So if we take a closer look then at the anti-roll bar links here, they come with, of course, all of the required hardware, brand new, really chunky. Pop these little plastic covers off. We get all of the required washers. These are super heavy duty and they are adjustable, so you can get up to 25 millimeters of adjustability, which allows you to eliminate anti-roll bar preload, or you can just fine tune it just little bits if you want. And like we were saying, maximum control over your setup. Compared to just using the stock links with our new Whiteline anti-roll bar, this is a much better option because the old joints could be like getting weaker and they just overall aren't going to be as performant as this. So it's going to be an upgrade, but it's also going to be like brand new components, and brand new is always good. So at this point we can crack on. Before I go out and do the installation, I am going to ceramic coat this. Okay, as you can see, I have the car up on the ramps, and if I get down underneath here, it's perhaps a little difficult to see, but just up there is our stock sway bar. So as you can see then as well, it's kind of a bit, well, I mean, it's not like right up against or anything like that, but in terms of doing this install, I think it might be a little easier if we remove this rear section of the exhaust just to give us a little bit more access. So let's do that now. Alright, yes, that gives us a much easier access to everything that we need to get to here, specifically like these brackets and the bolts holding them on and stuff like that. So yes, I mean, you probably could do it with the exhaust on, and of course if you have a stock exhaust setup, you're probably going to have to do it with the exhaust on. But if you have an aftermarket exhaust like my mount shooting one, then I would say just blast on and remove it. It doesn't take that much time or effort to do so. So first thing that I am going to do is, you can see at this side the bracket is uncovered. but on this side there's a little heat shield, so I'm going to remove that first. And for this you will require a 10mm. Okay, next up, these bracket things that you can see, there's one on either side over there as well. So we need to remove one of these to facilitate getting the old bar out and the new bar in. So we've got a few fixings that we need to remove, and we'll start off with these. There's two of these, one here and one here, and these are a T40 Torx. Alright, and then just this here bolt up here, which is 13mm. Just as a little side note, it's a good opportunity to like clean up these areas to protect them from rust that we otherwise normally would not be able to get to. So I've got like a wire brush, I've just given that a little go, and then I've got some Genolite rust converter, so just going to hit it with that, and then we can continue with our installation. Nice. Alright, next up, these brackets here, and for these we've got two 13mm nuts that we need to remove, both sides. Removing the bolt / studs from that side was kind of awkward just because of this bit of the exhaust still being slightly in the way, but this side is going to be much easier because the bolts are much easier to access, so I can just use the gun. Okay, now for the stock links. So you can see the setup that I've got here. I have a 6mm Allen key in the end of the bolt of the link, and then I've got an 18mm spanner here on the actual nut. So the reason for this is, so this goes just right in the middle. It's pretty hard to show you because of where it is, and what that's going to do, we're going to hold that, and that's going to stop the bolt from moving around whilst we loosen the nut. Alright, now I will just do the exact same thing on the other side. Okie dokie, there we go. So having both of these out, you can see that we can quite easily get the links out of the sway bar. They're pretty soft, and also because we have the brackets loosened, we can move it quite easily side to side. So I'm going to do that now and then just get rid of the stock sway bar out of here. There we go. So now you can actually bring it into the garage here and set it right down beside our new Whiteline sway bar. Okay, side by side we can clearly see the color difference, and we can clearly see at the ends there our two levels of adjustability versus just the single setting obviously that we have on stock. What might not be so obvious is the difference in thickness. So what I'm going to do is I will measure them for you. So here we have some calipers here, 0mm as you can see there. So stock bar is you can see it is 20.21mm, and then the Whiteline, they claim 22mm, and there we can see 22.44 millimeters. So we get an extra couple of millimeters, not massive, but definitely an important improvement, especially whenever we're talking about torsional forces going through this bar. It will improve performance, as well as that adjustability will make a big difference, along with our new end links and along with the replacement brackets and the replacement bushes. Everything is just going to add up to a nice performance increase. Alright, back under the car then, of course, before we can get our new Whiteline bar in place, we got to finish removing the stock links. So that means another nut up here. Now this is even more awkward to get to because you can see it's kind of obscured by the rear brake caliper. Obviously, if you want to go to massive lengths to do this install, you could remove the calipers and move them out of the way, but I'm not going to do that today. So as you can see, I've already got my 6mm up in here. You can easily enough sort of get it in here from below, and then we should have just about enough access. I'll just grab my spanner here. Yeah, just about enough access to get in there. So I mean, it shouldn't be too much more difficult than the other one. We just have to make sure that we're not hitting off of our caliper, because we do not want to damage that, of course. These are in like pretty darn tight, so you know, you just gotta, I mean, I don't want to say he-man it, but you know, just give it plenty of grunt and they will come out eventually. Oh, got it. So you may have seen there, once I got it started from sort of down here, I managed to find a little bit more leverage space, like from above, sort of in between the shock and the wheel. You just obviously have to be careful you don't bang off your wheel and damage it. But there we go, that's that side out, so I'll just repeat that exact same process on the other side. Okay, so then with both of our two stock links out, we can put them side by side with our brand new Whiteline ones and just revel in how awesome our new Whiteline ones look. Obviously very, very thin here in the middle of the stock links versus nice and chunky in our Whitelines. At this point then, we got to do some preparation work. So I'm going to get the Whiteline links to be the exact same length as the stock links. You can sort of see just right now, well actually they're not too far off, but yeah, we'll get them exactly the same, just as a starting point in terms of setup, and then of course going forward we'll have the adjustability to play with once in the car. But yeah, the starting point, I think, much like our Whiteline tow bars, we want to be exactly the same as stock just to start with. Then also another bit of prep work that we need to do is to get our bushings and brackets onto our Whiteline bar. Okay, the starting point for our links is to have them all the way screwed inwards. So you take the locking nuts and get them as far out of the way as possible, and then you can twist either end to screw it all the way in. And then once you're at that point, whenever you start twisting the middle section, if you're holding the ends, hopefully you can see it extends the exact same amount either side, twist it the other direction, and it closes the exact same amount either side. And that's important just so that we have equal forces going along either end of the link. So once we have that all the way screwed in, if we make sure that our bolts are coming out like straight, because of course they can move around like that. So get them nice and straight and then set them right up against each other. So we have these ones matched up here, and then we can see, I'm not sure how well you can see, but they're not quite lining up. So now we can simply just start twisting this until the two ends match up. So that's pretty bang on. So now I'm just going to do that on both of them, and then once we've done that, then we can tighten up our little lock nuts. So we do that, well, we can start doing it by hand. Just close that up to there, and the same on the other side, and then we can tighten those with a 17mm. Okay then, next we can do our bushings and brackets. Just holding this side by side with the stock, I'm not sure how easy it is to see, but our new Whiteline brackets are just thicker metal, which is obviously better. So, and they're also a little bit of a nicer design. You know, they're less sort of flared and will just look at that a little bit nicer. And then of course the much less compliant bushings in here from Whiteline versus the rather, well, comparatively squishy rubber ones in stock. Now the way that we do this is we gotta just pop the bushing out of the bracket like that, and then what you will see is that there is like a split here. So very simply, we just want to put that over, get the bushing over the bar like that, and then we can bring our bracket back in and just push it down, and then it will clamp on. So obviously do that for both. It doesn't really matter too much about the exact positioning of them at this stage. We just want to get them on, and we will adjust later. Alright, there we go. Okay, before we get the bar in, what I've done here is I have measured the exact width, and I put a little bit of tape on and then marked it with a Sharpie, the exact middle point of our new sway bar, because we want to have this in the exact middle. We don't want it to be either side. So I've measured this, marked this, and then I'm going to jump back under the car and I'm going to find the exact middle of the subframe, and then we can line our marks up, and we will be nice and happy knowing that we have got everything exactly aligned before we tighten all of our fixings. So for under the car, I measured the distance between this bolt and this bolt. It was 12 inches, so then I was able to mark 6 inches right here. Now in terms of orientation, you might think that it can go either way around and it doesn't really matter, but it actually does matter. So you can see on the stock bar where there's like that barcode which is like pointing upwards, it's like upright. The ends of the bars are like pointing almost down, and our white lines do the exact same thing. If you put them around the other way, they're almost pointing upwards, so we want them around this way. Okay, what we're going to do then is we're going to feed this side in through our subframe brace, just this hole right here, and then that will allow us to line up our brackets and then get our bolts back in. So whenever we're putting them back in, we want to put a little bit of thread locker glue on there, whatever type you have, whether it's like this JB Weld Permalock or whatever brand you like, and then we won't tighten them up too much. We'll just sort of get them started just to hold the sway bar in place, and then we will continue. Okay, now that we have the sway bar just in place, we can get our end links in there as well, obviously not tightened up just yet, but in place. So we get lots and lots of washers from Whiteline, including a bunch of spares. So the way that we want to do this is over each one, you want to have a washer, and then get it in place, and then you want another washer, and then the nut. Okay, so this is this link just in place, just not tightened really at all until we get everything lined up. But you can see here that the bottom of it got the part going through the new sway bar. I put it into the front hole, so if I switch over to this side, you can see the two holes there. First hole is the exact same length as stock. Then if you use the other one, then you will get that extra boost of performance from the sway bar. So I'm just going to go straight to that. Of course, going forward, you can undo the link, switch it back in here, whatever you like. That's the whole idea. But yeah, I figured I might as well go for it straight off the bat. So now I'm going to tighten up the bolts for our brackets. And in terms of making sure that we are nice in the middle, you can see using this, I can line up to my two little red lines, and that is exactly where we want to be. And then another little trick here, in terms of getting the bracket sort of nice and central, is there's a little lip. It's probably hard to see right here, but you can just put the bracket up and rest it on that lip, and then you can see that it's nicely lined up, and you can do that on both sides. The lip exists. So yeah, just going to tighten these up, and then we will torque them. Okay, torque then, 44 foot-pounds or 60 newton meters. Okay, now would be a good time to get our little lateral locks in place, just so that whenever we're tightening up the links that we don't move the bar side to side, because of course we have it in the middle now. Obviously we could adjust it again, but since we have it nice and centered now, we might as well get these locks into place, and then that will be that. So very, very simple. Just go either side using the supplied hardware. I'll also put a little drop of thread locker on those, and then you can use the supplied Allen key or you can use your own, and it's 3mm. So that is as simple as that. We just tighten them up nice and tight. Obviously not absolutely he-manning it, you don't want to break them because they are just little small bolts going into aluminium. And then we just put it right up against the bushing, and then once we have them on both sides, that will stop the bar moving side to side. So quite a nice neat solution, and looks really cool in that white line gold colour. So now I'll just repeat that over on the other side. Well, there we go, those are pretty. So yes, now we can start tightening up our links. Tightening up our new nuts from Whiteline is a pretty similar affair to removing the stock ones, except while we use the exact same Allen key, we need a different size of spanner. This is 19mm. There we go, tightened up real tight on both sides, and that is essentially it. All we got to do now is, well, take this tape off and then get everything put back together. So we've got a little heat shield to go there, and then of course our exhaust, and then once we do that, will be installation complete. Well, there we go, that is the installation finished of our brand new Whiteline rear sway bar, aka anti-roll bar, and I think it looks great. The craftsmanship, the build quality of all of the parts is awesome. It's really nice and chunky and solid feeling, and yeah, it looks really cool with that nice grey paint job, and then the nice little gold accents really sets it off. Especially with the brand new links, they just look really nice and match in with the other Whiteline bits that we have, and some more Whiteline bits that I have for the future as well. Installation wasn't too bad. It took a little while and it was a little fiddly. Certainly those nuts for the links, the ones certainly up at the higher points, were very difficult to get at, so that wasn't so great, but it is what it is, and I am sure that it will be worth it in the end. I can't wait to get out and enjoy this. So I hope you like that, and I hope you like this little video. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like, share and subscribe for more content to come very soon. Thank you once again. Goodbye.